Hello, and welcome back to Miato Gaming for another day of Raid Shadow Legends. I won't have a very long video today. I'm just got some great news and I'm very excited about it. As you can see, I just hit a major milestone on my account. Day 270, and I was able to unlock Visix the Unbowed. And I'm very excited about this champ and what it means for my account. And I think there's two things here that I want to really discuss today for this overall impact on my account. I think looking on to the next part of the calendar, I mean, that pretty much finishes the daily login rewards for me for the most part. As far as this changing monthly calendar, it will no longer change. Now it's going to be the same. I'm going to be working on Cleopteryx, and it looks like 25 shards each month. So how many shards do you need? Like, you only need 100 fragments, right? So it should only be 4 months. I heard somebody saying it's like 2 years, but maybe they meant 2 years when you're looking at the entire calendar. I'm not sure what that's about, or maybe they sped her up a bit. It looks like it should be just about 4 months, I think. If assuming that this calendar doesn't change, it's just the same. Should be about just a few months there. So I'm very excited to start working on that. And then I think after Cleopteryx, I think that changes to I believe his name is Artis or Aris, something like that. Another great champ that I'm excited about. More excited about him actually than Cleopteryx. So very excited just to kind of be making my way into a new part of the daily login calendar. I think that's going to be very exciting for me. But beyond that, I'm even more excited to be adding Visix to my account. I think she's going to be helpful in a number of areas in the game for me. Of course, you all know I love Faction Wars, so I think she's going to help me a ton in Faction Wars Hard. But I'm also very, very excited about using her in Fire Knight as well. And so I'm going to quickly take a look at her kit, and then I'm going to kind of discuss sort of how she fits into my Dark Elves faction. And some of the new impacts that have been happening to my Dark Elves faction. There's actually been a lot of changes happening there or upcoming very soon. And so I'm kind of excited about this faction overall. It's probably my most, it's the faction I'm most excited about seeing in action for Faction Wars Hard. I don't know that they're my best or the most exciting in the entire game, but at this point in my account, this is the faction I'm actually most excited about currently. And so gonna quickly go through her kit, but I think she's gonna do some amazing things here. So her A1, it's a double attack, and on the double attack, it's got a 100% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%, and this is each hit. So you can, assuming it's not resisted or anything along those lines, which I'm not sure if, yeah, I'm sure it can. But assuming it doesn't get resisted, this can knock down your turn meter or the target's turn meter by 30%. And it fills it fills her own turn meter by that 30%. And this is on the A1, right? So this can be extremely helpful for a lot of content, in particular Fire Knight, because it is a double hit, and it also decreases the target's turn meter. So this will prevent the Fire Knight from getting his shield back up quickly enough to prevent additional damage. So that'll give me more time really to try to get rid of him. And I do have, Lady Mikage who's got the team attack. So not only will I be able to use Visix just to attack on her own, knock down his turn meter 30%, but assuming I have that team attack up at the time, I could call her again on an assist to again decrease the Fire Knight's turn meter by an additional 30%. So I'm very excited about this skill on her A1. I think that's great. But I don't really think that's the best part of her kit. I just think that's extraordinarily helpful for like Fire Knight. I think, a lot of other places, still exciting because you're decreasing turn meter and things. But it's less exciting than some of the other stuff when I think beyond Fire Knight. And so when we look at her A2, it's an AoE. I love AoEs and she's got two of them. So right off the bat, before I even read what they do, I'm like, oh, AoEs, there's so much that you could do with AoE. You could throw on different sets to take advantage of that, right? Whether it's stun set or poison set, whatever. I'm not sure if either of those would actually be useful on her. But, just when you think AoE in general, before even diving into a kit and seeing anything else, there's already so much you could do with an AoE, right? But these on their own without worrying about what set she's got on her or anything else. Both of these do some amazing things. And so when we're looking at this AoE, it actually has it's 30%, but that kind of goes up to I think 50, yeah, 55%. Um, oh no, it goes up to 100%. I'm reading the wrong numbers. It goes up to 100% chance of placing this 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Another thing that's going to be great for Fire Knight, but not just Fire Knight. I actually think this is great anywhere in the game. It's always great to throw this, and it's an AoE, throw on an AoE decreased speed on the enemy team. But again, just going, it's just amazing for Fire Knight, right? Both her A1 and her A2 can be amazing for Fire Knight. But I think this is even better than her A1 when you think beyond Fire Knight. You look at the rest of the content. I think this is great there as well. But it also throws on an ally protect buff on all the allies. So this is an opportunity for her to keep the rest of her allies alive. And we're going to see she's going to be doing an excellent job of that, not just on her A2, but also on her A3 as well. But that's kind of her role. She is a defense-based champion. I don't know how hard she hits. She might hit very hard. I know a lot of defense-based champions hit pretty hard when you build up their defense because they do their damage based on defense. I don't know how hard she hits necessarily, but she does such a great job at Fire Knight, but also B in her role protecting her teammates and making sure that her teammates are healthy and alive and well, so you don't need to use revives and heals, although it's still good to have, but less of a concern when you have someone like that. And she's so good at that that regardless of how hard she hits, I think this kit is amazing. And then as we move on to our A3, another AoE, this is an AoE provoke. And not only is it an AoE provoke, but it also drops a shield buff. Now, it only drops a shield buff on herself. So this doesn't drop a shield on everyone, but this does provoke everyone on the enemy team. And so the rest of your teammates, assuming that the enemy team doesn't have AoEs on their A1s, the rest of the team should be hitting her and damaging her shield, right? And so the rest of her teammates will still be protected. And so having that provoke on here is just going to be another phenomenal part of her kit. Not as useful in Fire Knight necessarily. You could really just, or at least on the boss wave, on the waves leading up to the boss, this will be extremely helpful. But once you kind of get to the boss, for wave 3, you can actually just turn this off. If you're going to auto or if you're manualing it, just don't use it. I think it's less useful there in wave 3 of the Fire Knight. But in all other content, AoE provoke with a shield buff, absolutely phenomenal. So I'm very excited to be adding all of the elements of her kit to my roster overall, and to the Dark Elves specifically as a faction. So let's back up out of all of this, and let's talk a bit here about the impact here to my Dark Elves faction. And right off the bat, so I did beat the Dark Elves faction wars normal. I've been making progress there. So if you recall, the first time I made my initial faction wars video, I think there were 5 factions left to do. At this point in time, there are only 2. So it's just Skinwalkers and Ogren Tribe. Nice Revenant was the one I was most concerned about. I actually did that today. It took quite a bit of time, 23 minutes, but I knocked it out. With a bunch of epics and Drang. Took by Stoffis out, which was, I knew it was going to have to happen because he was just he's not very legendary. So I think they made a mistake on his coloring for his frame. I think it should be blue, not golden. But regardless, I was able to knock that out today. And I've also finished Undead Horde, which I believe that one was just yesterday, and then Dark Elf Crypt, which actually Undead Horde might have been 2 days ago. I think there was a day off in between as far as like a faction war that I need to make progress on. And then Dark Elf, I think, was about 3 days ago. So I think I had Dark Elf, then I had Undead Horde, then I had a day of other ones where I could just farm them like this, right? Just use my keys just to get some relic mat, or not relic mats, but like gear mats. And then had Knights Revenant today. Hopefully, I don't know for sure, but hopefully I'll be able to knock out Ogryn Tribe here in about 7 hours, and then Skinwalkers in a couple days. So like right after I knock out Ogryn Tribe. If that's the case, I'll actually unlock Lydia. So that's going to be very impactful for what I will be discussing now, which is my Dark Elves faction. I've been unlocking quite a few champs here. This was already pretty good, right? I had Aphidus, Noct, Xenomorph. I already had quite a few. I had Blinds here. I already had quite a few great champs in this faction. I just needed something little to push me over the top, and I think honestly, just with re-gearing Aphidus, um, and I forget which epic I used because I was using some rares before I had like Kale and them. I forget who it is I even used here. Quickly glance through. Oh, my apologies. It was Mithrala, who I just unlocked. I just unlocked her during um, the Naldua fusion. Who I've completed her fusion. I just haven't unlocked her yet. I'm waiting for the next champ chase, and then I'll go ahead and unlock her. So I just got Mithrala during the Naldua faction or Naldua fusion. So what is that? A week ago? So I unlocked Mithrala a week ago. I unlocked Visix today. I have Naldua ready to go. So I don't know when the next champ chase will be, but I'll be able to open her up in maybe like a couple weeks, right? 2 weeks or something along those lines. And I'm hoping, if all things go well, I'll be unlocking Lydia here in 2 days. So just within the last, starting from last week with Mithrala to maybe another week or two ahead where I'll be unlocking Naldua, that's less than 3 weeks where I'm bringing in four kind of heavy hitters into the Dark Elves faction, a faction that I've already had some great champs in. Blind Seer is great, Noct is great, Xenomorph is great, Aphidus is great, right? So I think I'm very excited just about this faction overall and where they're heading. Mithrala is an incredible support champ. Visix, we just discussed. She's an incredible defense champ. Naldua, who we discussed in a previous video, a great reviver. She doesn't have a heal, but she does have shields, which is you can use similarly, right? They both have pros and cons, which you can say, shield has pros in the fact that you can go over 100 health with shield, right? You could maintain 100 health, and then your shield boosted beyond 100 health, because when they're hitting you, they're taking down at the shield, not down at your health, so you could kind of counter this health in a way. But then heals are actually kind of good as well, because shields are limited. Eventually, shield will go away, whether it's 2 turns or whatever. Your health is permanent until somebody knocks it down. And so there's pros and cons either way you want to look at it. But I think, Naldua is a great reviver and has uses where I think she's better than Blind Seer. Both of them have full team revive. I do like the fact that Blind Seer has heals and a couple other things to help keep your team alive, whereas Naldua is more, and her shield, I also have to say this, her shield is actually on her revive. So it does limit its effectiveness in a sense because you kind of have to waste your revive in order to put shields onto your team. But it's on a 4-turn cooldown, so it's not as long as your team's not about to die, as long as no one's getting ready to die, you can just use this just to buff your team with some extra protection and shields, and hopefully that'll keep everyone alive for 4 turns. At which point you might then need to revive someone. But I do want to call out that one thing. But beyond that, I think she's going to do a lot to help you push waves with her enfeeble and weaken. If it's a boss, it's a weaken. Otherwise, it's enfeeble, as well as her decreased defense. And this is AOE decreased defense. You don't need Solinar in the team in order to do it. It just can't be resisted if he's not there, or if he is there, you can't be resisted. But otherwise, still part of her kit. This and both of these go up to 100% chance, assuming there's no resist or anything like that, and there's 100% chance of removing all buffs from enemies. So I think she's really going to help you push through waves and push through content, where I think Blind Seer is going to be more on the other side, more keeping everyone alive. This is a heal and a shield and blocks debuff, right? It's more on keeping everyone alive and making sure they're not dying, and then she's also got this revive as well. So one is more defensive, one is more offensive, I would say, but both of them have full team revives. So depending on who you want to use, it kind of depends on if you want to focus more on protection or focus more on pushing through waves. But regardless, I'll do a great champ coming online here soon, and in some cases will be an improvement over Blind Seer. And then Lydia, who is phenomenal in many ways. I think my most excited thing about her is the fact that people cannot revive, so denies enemy revive attempts. And I think that's going to come in handy when I do things like Ice Golem, for example. Just throw her on the Ice Golem team. Suddenly, Ice Golem becomes a lot easier because the Ice Golem cannot revive his little minions there. And as such, I don't think he's going to be able to do all of the additional damage that he does when he does revive them. She also has a lot of additional utility, whether it's fears, decreasing defense, weaken, um, block buffs, all of this. And it's poison sensitivity as well, but I'm not sure. She doesn't have any poisons in her kit. She can like increase the duration of poison sensitivity. She doesn't actually have any poison in her kit herself. I do have someone like a Noct who places poisons. Believes Xenomorph also places poisons. Yeah. So I do have other characters who do place poison, so she'll be useful there. But I'm just most excited about this anti-revive in her passive. I just think that's just going to come in handy for a lot of content. Outside of that, Lydia is still a great champ, regardless of that block revive or not. But I'm just really excited about what these 4 characters are going to be bringing to this team. And my entire Faction Wars team might look very different from what it looked like in normal, because these might be 4 champs that I use every single time. Now, I do think there's going to be times where I replace and I'll do it with Blind Seer. I think, there's going to be times where I want to focus more on protection, the heals, have a shield that's not tied to my revive, things of that nature. So I think there will be times where I place in Blind Seer instead of Naldua. And there may be times where maybe Lydia is not the best for the job. Maybe I need additional damage. Again, I don't know how much damage Visix does. But I don't expect, nor do I know how much damage Naldua does, but I don't expect a ton of damage from Naldua. I already know Thrala doesn't do a ton of damage. But there might be times where I need, more of a damage there. I might have to bring in a Noct or a Xenomorph. Aphidus he does a ton of damage for me in his attack roll. His defense roll is kind of interesting because he also has an AoE provoke. How often will I need to use that when I have Visix on the team, right? So I could kind of leave him in his attack roll pretty much in all content, I think. I don't know why I would need 2 AoE provokers. There could be situations where that's important, I guess, but just off the top of my head, it's nothing that's really popping out to me. Again, I haven't done Faction Wars hard yet, so I don't know for sure. But I think for the most part, I could allow Visix to handle that role, and Aphidus can stay on the attack. But regardless, I do think my team makeup is going to be insanely different with these 4 now joining my faction here. And so my entire faction it just got a facelift pretty much overnight. This is Mithrala's literally a week ago, and I already have Naldua, and I'm getting Lydia hopefully in a couple of days. So just in the span of a week, it'll be a little bit longer till I actually unlock Naldua. I have her ready to go. I'm not going to actually press the button to unlock her for a little bit. But technically, I already have her, right? So within the span of a week, this entire faction is ridiculously different. And so I am very excited for Faction Wars Hard. I am very excited for putting together my Fire Knight team now that I have Visix. I'm very excited to see what kind of additional content I can take on and how far I can push in content now that I'm unlocking some of these champs. That's all I really wanted to discuss today. Kind of give that brief update and share my excitement from hitting day 270, I believe it is. We could double check that, but yeah, day 270 and unlocking Visix. I think that's just phenomenal. I'm excited to use her. I've already started sort of building her up to an extent. So I did not do, I didn't put any gear on her yet or anything like that. I'm going to watch some videos to see how other people are gearing her. I'm going to learn more about how hard she hits and then kind of try to make an assumption on how I want to build her myself, whether that's, a stun set with a ton of defense, so that way she could still, a ton of defense and HP, so that way she could, I guess I do need accuracy as well for some of her other debuffs. So if I'm just like, okay, a stun set that's got a ton of defense, HP, and accuracy, I don't currently have that gear in my inventory, but I can try to go and get some. Is that the way I want to go? Or maybe is there another build that people are using for her? And so I'm going to go and I'm going to take a look at all of the different options out there before I start throwing gear on her. Again, I've already done Faction Wars normal for Dark Elves, so I don't need to rush her. But I did start pushing up her levels. And so we just take a quick look at my Dark Elves. Don't pay attention to my gear. It's pretty horrible. I am working on it. I am improving it. But currently, my focus up front was really putting champs on my team. And I discussed this on my initial video. My initial focus was adding champs to my team. So I spent a lot of time, money, and resources putting champs on the team. And then my focus switched to Faction Wars to knock that out before the Argonites release, in which I'm currently almost done with now. So that's almost done. And then sort of that next step is going to be developing my boss teams, whether it's clan boss or it's the dungeons, as well as like farming gear. That's what you do the dungeons for, right? So that farming gear stuff is going to be coming up very shortly because I'm starting already to develop my dungeon teams. I already see my Fire Knight team starting to come together here. But you can see I don't have any gear on her, but she is level 38, and I did get just the 3 purple stars on her just so I can unlock her her A3 here. Just so it's unlocked. I don't actually have any souls for her. So I mean I could still push her to 6 purple stars anyways. But I don't have any souls, so I wasn't in a rush to throw 6 on her. I just wanted to make sure I had this ability open. So if I practice with her during the campaign or anything like that while I'm farming campaign to increase her levels, I can get a chance to use her A3 and just kind of check it out and see it in action. So again, very excited to have Visix on my team. Very excited about moving my calendar into this next portion now, where I can start instead of a different calendar every month, I'll start working my way through the same calendar every month until I get Cleoptrix and Artist. Let me check this guy's name. You know, I believe he's in Knights Revenant. Yeah, Eric's. Not Artist. Eric's. That was close. But I like his kit. Um, he's reviewed very high as well, but I like his kit. So I'm excited about getting him. Cleoptrix is fine too. It's always good to have more champs. I wasn't as overly excited about her, but you know, this faction could use help, so that'll be fine. She looks great, so there's that. And then I think overall, just excited going forward. So thanks for watching. Looking forward to making my next video and developing some of these teams for other content, which I'm also going to do, which I will also make videos for once I start putting them together. All right, take care.